Hello everyone, this is Ashley Tucker. Thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited to be part of today's STAMPtember blog party. There are a ton of different blogs taking part in this event, and if you head over to my blog, you can find out more information about everything. Another thing that you'll find on my blog today is one of the unique coupon codes that are floating around out there as a part of this party for Simon Says Stamp. I will be putting a link to that blog post in the description down below. Okay, so for my STAMPtember card today, I'm going to be using the Ornate Ornaments stamp set, which is part of the release that just came out yesterday. I started with a piece of Canson watercolor paper in my Misty, and I'm going to be stamping these 3 ornaments onto that paper with Versamark ink. And I did use my powder tool on this paper so that I don't have any issues with embossing powder sticking anywhere where I don't want it to stick. Because this is a textured watercolor paper, it's really good to use the Misty so that you can stamp it multiple times and ensure that it's in the same spot every time. I heat embossed the ornaments using a gold embossing powder. I'm going to be painting these with my Gonzai Tombi watercolors. I have a piece of laminated cardstock in the middle there that I'm going to be using as a palette. And as you can see, I taped my watercolor paper to a board so that I can paint on it and have minimal warping. The colors that I'm using to paint my ornaments are color numbers 32, 35, and 906. I like to give the color numbers instead of the color names because the Gonzai Tombi watercolors have 2 different sets of names depending on where you bought your watercolor set. If you have a Gonzai Tombi watercolor set and you're struggling to figure out what colors somebody's using because they have different color names than you can head over to my blog, and in the downloads I have a Gonzai Tombi watercolor chart that I made that has the different color names and the color numbers on it, so you can use that to help you out. So for these ornaments, the color numbers 32 and 35 are 2 different shades of red, and the 906 is a white gold color. Now, that white gold color is more of a metallic paint. It really kind of has this shimmer to it, so I mixed it with my red colors so that they would shimmer. It's really hard to see that shimmer in the video as I'm painting it, but at the end of the video I'll kind of show a little bit of a closer look and you'll be able to see that shine more. Once the ornaments were dry, I started adding some paint to the background. For the background, I used 3 different shades of green, and those color numbers are 51, 52, and 56. I wanted to start really light with my color and work my way up to the darker colors. So with my first color, I added a decent amount of water to it, and then before it dried, I started on my second green. The look that I was going for with this was a messy watercolor look. I wanted my edges to not be very clean. I wanted a very organic look. So after I added my second color of green, I came in with clean water and just went over the edges so that they weren't as sharp and they just kind of spread out and flow where they wanted to. The really great thing about doing a messy watercolor look is it's very difficult to mess it up. Because it's supposed to look messy, so if you mess it up, who's to say that it's not how you wanted it to be? Though I will say that a big part of me is a perfectionist, and that really doesn't help with the messy watercolor look. Anyways, after I finished that background, I thought my ornaments were looking a little bit flat, so I took my darkest red shade and I came back in and I added some shadows. Next, I took a Copic multiliner and a T-square ruler and I added some strings to my ornaments. Okay, so I'm going to open up and be real with you guys for a minute. This is actually the second time I did this, because the first time I did it, when I used my T-square ruler and that Copic multiliner, my hand moved and the line went all over the place and I had to start over. So be very careful when you do something like that. So yeah, I had to paint the whole thing over, and round 2 went much better. I also added some bows at the top of the ornaments with my Copic multiliner, and then I used my Misty tool to add a sentiment. I'm using 2 different stamps from the Ornate Ornaments stamp set, which together say "Wishing You Joy," and I'm stamping those with Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. Next, I took a card base and a piece of A2 size red cardstock, and I used my ATG gun to adhere the red cardstock onto the card base. After that, I took my watercolor piece and I used a lot of foam tape to pop it up onto the card base. I like to use a decent amount of foam tape with a watercolored panel because I find that it really helps to get rid of any warping that might have happened. For the finishing touches on this card, I started with a white gel pen and I added some highlights and details to my 3 ornaments. I added a bunch of dot details to that bottom ornament, and to the top one I added some stripes. Next, I used the white gel pen to add some dots to the background. I did different sized dots in groups of 2 or 3, and I thought that these could really look like either twinkling lights in the background or even snow. Next, I took a few different sizes of white sequins and I adhered them using my Tombow glue and some tweezers. I then took some light green half pearls and I glued those down using my Tombow glue as well. Finally, the last thing that I did to finish up this card is I added some Wink of Stella glitter to the star-shaped ornament. After that, this card was done, and here's a closer look at the shimmer on this card. Thank you for watching today. I hope you really enjoyed this card using the Ornate Ornaments stamp set from the STAMPtember release. You can find a supplies list in the description down below. If you enjoyed watching today and you have not subscribed to my channel yet, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button so that you can see all of my future videos. I'm going to be back with a new video tomorrow. Again, thank you for watching today. I really appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a great day today.